So now let's talk about the HTML input settings. So a settings of type HTML outputs a multi-line text field that accepts HTML markup. Okay, and with the HTML settings, you can use the placeholder attribute and it's not required. And of course, it accepts the type, the ID, the label as any standard attribute. Okay, so the following HTML tags will be automatically removed: the HTML, the head, the body, in the case you paste something that containing these HTML tags. And when accessing a value of HTML tab settings, data is returned in one of the following formats: a string that contains the entered content, or an empty object if nothing has been entered. All right, so let's go create these settings. Let me clean up a little bit here. Let's remove this CSS here. Let's remove this H1 like this. And let's come here and just below the color scheme, you know what, let's even remove all this what we done here earlier. So we start with a clean slate, and let's give this one a type of HTML, and the ID could be, let's give it HTML for now, and the label could be HTML or video or whatever, depends on what you want to post. And you can use the placeholder if you want to. You can use the info as well. It's not mandatory. The default, I don't think it's needed here. So let's save it. Let's go back to our customizer, and let's go back here, and we have our HTML. Okay, so I can go, let's try to add, let's say, some SVG HTML codes. Let me copy this one. I will copy the codes. I will come to our customizer, and I'm gonna paste it here as an HTML. I'm gonna save it, and now let's access it. So it's going to be the same like the one we did previously. So double curlies, so section that settings that HTML as the ID. If I save it, we're supposed to get our input as an input icon here. So let's try another one as the image. So I'm gonna grab, if I go to some video in YouTube, you click on share, you look for this embed video, this icon, you click on it, and you just copy the iframe code, and you come here, and let's say we go back to our customizer, and let's replace this SVG code with this iframe. And if I save it and I reload, so we're gonna have access to this iframe like this. Yeah, so I think I copied the codes wrongly, so let's do it again. Let me go to embed and make sure to copy correctly. Let's copy that. Let's come back to our customizer. Let's remove this SVG properly, and let's add it again, and we're gonna have the video appearing inside our website. If I reload, and there you go. This is how you use the input settings of HTML. Let's talk about the image picker. We already learned how to use it, so let's again practice. So I'm gonna come back here. I'm gonna create just below the HTML. I'm going to create an input of image picker like this, and the ID, let's call it image. The label could be again image, depends on your scenario. And if I save it and I go back to my customizer now, I'm going to be able to add an image. So let's go and add an image. Let me add these shoes here. Let me save it. So if I come back here now, and let's say I want to access the image now, so let me remove this HTML here. Let's access the section that settings that image as the ID. If I save it, I'm gonna get just the path of the image like this. Okay, and we need to add a filter, which we already saw countless times. So let's give it a width of 200, a height of 200, an image tag, and if we save it, we're going to have access to the image. But what I wanted to show you, like, mainly is how to use now this image ID inside our preset in the case we don't have any default. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna grab the ID, is image in this case, and we're gonna come here, we're gonna add the ID of image, and we're gonna make it empty. Okay, it's going to be the same for the input of HTML because we don't have any default value here. So I'll just grab the HTML ID, and inside the preset settings I will just like add it as like this, as an empty, and that's it. Okay, I'm not gonna have any error whatsoever. Let's talk about the inline Richtext. I think we already saw it in the previous videos in the series. So if you want to capture formatted text content, such as introductory brand content on your homepage, you can use the inline rich text. So the principles is very the same. So you need to use the type. It must be inline rich text. The ID, up to you. The default, you can use this way of wrapping your content inside the default like this using HTML tag. And of course, it also must have a label. And when accessing the value of the inline rich text type settings, data is returned as one of the following: as a string that contains the entered content, or as an empty object if nothing has been entered. So let's go in our VS Code. Let's give it a try. Let's remove this code we have inside our div here. Let me also remove these other settings we just did here. Let me also clean the presets. And let's go create the settings for this inline text. So let's create the curlies, and the type is going to be inline rich text, and the ID, you give it any name you want. So let's call it text, and the label, we can also call it, let's say, we can say write your content here. And if you want, we can also give it some default. So I'm going to get inspiration from there. So we can say this is the, let's add some I tag there, let's close it. So this is the content, something like this, and let's save it. So I'm not gonna have any error in my terminal. So let's go back and let's see how it's going to look inside our customize. So this is how it looks. So this is our default. You can even see that the content is like italic. All right, so next what we're going to do is to access the data coming from this inline text. So I will just copy the ID just like we did with other inputs. I will come inside my div here, and let's first print it. So we're gonna say section.settings.the ID, and if we save it, and as there is just the default, it's going to print the default. And if there is nothing, if I remove the default, we're gonna get nothing. And if I come here, I write here I am the content, and you see it's appearing here without any problem.